Welcome back, second grade. It's Miss Leffel again. And today's vocabulary strategy lesson is going to be idioms. I'm going to tell you what idioms are, but here's just an example that you may or may not have heard. So we've had a lot of rain in the past 2 days here. And so you might have heard somebody say, it's raining cats and dogs. And you're thinking exactly what the picture looks like. Well, are cats and dogs falling from the sky? Well, no, they're not. You know, the literal meaning means that it's raining super hard. And where this idiom actually comes from is a long time ago when houses were not built as they are now. People would use straw and other things to insulate the house, and they had like kind of not an attic, but a little nook area that where your animals and stuff, maybe your small children would stay and sleep. And when it would rain, the straw would obviously get wet and it would not hold as well as it would when it was dry. So the animals such as cats or dogs that slept up in this little attic nook would kind of fall down where the hay was brittle and didn't hold up anymore. So then they'd say, well, it's raining cats and dogs. So that's where that comes from. So it's not literally raining cats and dogs. So let's find out more about what idioms are. So an idiom is a word or phrase which means something different from its literal meaning. Idioms are common phrases or terms whose meaning is changed, but it can be understood with their popular use, so if you use it all the time. Because idioms can mean something different from what the words mean, it's difficult for someone that's not really good at speaking the language or who hasn't heard them very often to use them properly. So some idioms are only used by some groups of people or at certain times. So the idioms shape up or ship out, which is like saying improve your behavior or leave if you don't. You might hear this said by an adult or a parent or somebody of authority. So let's take a look at some certain idioms that are going to be on your Friday assessment for this week. So keep an eye on. So if somebody told you to keep an eye on the clouds, it doesn't exactly mean that you're going to be taking your eye out and putting it on the cloud. What it means is to watch carefully. Just make sure you're watching the clouds. Maybe there's a storm rolling in and you need to keep an eye on them in case they change and get dark. Something like that. Piece of cake. So we're not actually talking about something that you eat. If somebody says, oh, well, that test was a piece of cake, you might think, well, what are you talking about? Food. We're not talking about food. If something is a piece of cake, it means that it's easy to do. So if you said the test was a piece of cake, you're saying that the test was easy for you, probably because you studied and you did your work. Next, under the weather. Being under the weather doesn't mean that you're actually under the weather, like under the snow or under the rain. What it means is that you're sick or that you're not feeling well. So you may say, Johnny can't come out to play today because he's under the weather. It's not because he's playing in the rain, it's because he doesn't feel good. On its last leg. So with this illustration, you know, I've got my leg sticking out. It doesn't mean that I'm going to lose a leg. What this means, if something is on its last leg, is that it's almost worn out. It's going to need to be repaired. So if you said, oh, this car is on its last leg, that means it's probably going to need some repairs soon or it's going to stop working. And run like the wind. So not necessarily is Miss Leffel going to be flying through the air and going with the wind, but what that means is that we are going to run very fast. If you said that boy, he runs like the wind, you're just saying that he runs really fast because wind can get to speeds that are very high. Something like we've talked about with hurricanes. And that is it. So make sure if you need to go back through this video, watch it again so that you can remember these certain idioms. And if you would like any more information on where idioms come from or just more in general, chip on your shoulder, not necessarily a chip on your shoulder, not the literal meaning, but things like that, you can email me. You can email Miss Herrig or you can email Mr. Wilburn. Have a good day, guys. Keep working hard.